A roundup from Wednesday's quarter-final matches at Melbourne Park. Novak Djokovic is through to the Australian Open semi-finals to face Lucas Pouille. Reuters World No. 1 Novak Djokovic reached the Australian Open semi-finals in a hurry as an ailing Kei Nishikori retired when losing 6-1, 4-1 after just 51 minutes. Nishikori had endured 3 5-set epics during 13 hours and 47 minutes on court before the quarter-final clash, and suffered a thigh strain in the first set as the marathon matches took their toll. 8-seed Nishikori began to suffer early in the first set and was a shadow of his usual fighting self as he lost it in 31 minutes. After a medical timeout and 3 minutes of treatment from the physiotherapist, Nishikori emerged for the second set with his right thigh strapped and courageously attempted to carry on. He seemed to be moving a little more freely, but the recovery did not last long. After being broken to go 2-1 down by the Serbian 14-time Grand Slam champion, Nishikori became almost immobilized. When Djokovic broke again to go 4-1 ahead, it proved the last straw for Nishikori's brave challenge. "I love to battle, especially against Kei. We have played so many matches in our careers," said the Serb, who is chasing a record 7th Australian Open title. "I hope you can recover. I hope it's not something serious that will take too long. I wish him a speedy recovery. I'm sorry for everybody for not having a full match tonight, but thank you for showing up." Pouille tames Raonic. Lucas Pouille celebrates his win over Milos Raonic in the Australian Open quarter-finals. EPA Lucas Pouille became the first Frenchman to reach the semi-finals of the Australian Open since Jo-Wilfried Tsonga in 2010 when he stunned Canada's 16th seed Milos Raonic. Pouille, the 28th seed, fought back from a breakdown in the first set to win 7-6, 6-3, 6-7, 6-4 and reach the last 4 of a slam for the first time. The 24-year-old had never won a match at Melbourne Park before this year, but on Friday will face either Novak Djokovic or Kei Nishikori for a place in the final. Pouille recently recruited 2006 Australian Open champion Amelie Mauresmo to his team after a splitting with longtime coach Emmanuel Planquet in the off-season. But the world number 31 arrived in Melbourne in poor form. He had lost all 3 of his singles matches at the Hopman Cup and suffered a first-round exit at the Sydney International. "I'm very happy," Pouille said. "I was trying to forget the start of the year. I just kept working hard. All the matches I decided to take step by step, give everything on every point, and here I am. Last year I lost a bit of joy being on the court. I started a new adventure with my team, with Amelie. I enjoy being on the court again, and that is the most important." Pliskova produces stunning fight back Karolina Pliskova after defeating Serena Williams in the Australian Open quarter-finals. AP photo. Serena Williams' bid to equal Margaret Court's record 24 Grand Slam titles was brought to a halt in sensational style by Karolina Pliskova, who will face Naomi Osaka in the Australian Open semi-finals. The American had beaten world number 1 Simona Halep in the 4th round but folded against the big serving Czech 7th seed, who saved 4 match points before winning 6-4, 4-6, 7-5 under the hot Melbourne sun. It was a gut-wrenching defeat for the 37-year-old, who battled back from a set-down and was leading 5-1 in the 3rd and serving for the match, only to throw it away with some poor serving and wild shots as frustrations bubbled to the surface. She was playing very well. Especially at the end of the second set, she went for her shots and she was aggressive, said Pliskova after depriving Williams of a US Open final rematch with Osaka. "I played too passive. I was almost in the locker room, but now I am standing here as a winner. It is a very good feeling." Read more. Serena Williams full of praise for Karolina Pliskova after "lights out" fight back. Osaka keeps her cool. US Open champion Naomi Osaka is 2 wins away from claiming a 2nd straight Grand Slam title. EPA Japanese 4th seed Naomi Osaka routed an injured Elina Svitolina to reach the Australian Open semi-finals on Wednesday. The US Open champion beat the Ukrainian 6th seed 6-4, 6-1 to set up a Final Four clash with Czech 7th seed Karolina Pliskova. It was the 21-year-old's second straight Grand Slam semi-final after her triumph at Flushing Meadows, and she is the first Japanese woman in the Final Four at Melbourne Park since Kimoko Date in 1994. Svitolina received treatment for a neck or shoulder injury in the second set and looked a shadow of the player that won the WTA Finals in Singapore last October. "I tried to be consistent. It's unfortunate that she got injured, but playing against her even when she was injured was still really tough," Osaka said. She was pleased to maintain her composure in a simple straight sets win after previously losing her cool on court when her last two matches went to 3 sets. "I just had one goal, to try as hard I can and not get angry," she said. "I didn't do that really well in the last 2 rounds and I did that today, so I'm really happy with the way I played, blank." Read more. Comment, get used to more awkward speeches. Naomi Osaka is here to stay, blank. Updated January 23, 2019, 2:44 p.m.